From Alameda, California, the Comfortably Zoned Radio Network presents Flying High Over the Zone with the Zigzag Man.
I am back, and you are comfortably zoned with me, the Zigzag Man, from Alameda, California, right across the bay from San Francisco, in the northern part of the best state in the Union, I think. You may think differently. Barbara Stewart,
yes.
How you doing? It's been a while.
Okay, how are you doing?
Yeah, returning to these microphones, you are my old camp buddy from Kittatinny in Dingman's Ferry, Pennsylvania, back more years than we care to talk about.
Yes, we won't say how many.
We won't say exactly how many. Let's keep them guessing. Some
okay.
folks like young, some folks like them old, and it's all...
We're somewhere in between.
Right. That's right. Very few like us in between people. It's when we get old they like us. They like us when we're young. Going through life, it's not easy. But I'm looking forward to being old when everybody will like me. Because you could excuse
You'll never be old.
Person. You know he has gas. Of course. He's always had gas. But now it's okay. He's an old guy. So we're going to talk today and hopefully be joined by some other former Kittatinniites about a few things. We're all, the people I've invited, are all kind of liberal folks, and I wonder, looking back, I'm curious about stuff. Did you pick that up from the camp experience? Did you find people who were more liberal? And this is summer camp, not concentration camp, by the way.
Right.
Too old Jews. Not that old.
I, you know what? I mean, back then, we were just so young. I think that I couldn't answer for adults. I really couldn't answer for adults, but we were really kind of all from the same genre.
Right.
So I would say, yes, we were more liberal. Our parents were more liberal, actually, except for certain things, than these crazies are today. But then again, we were insulated, and now we're global. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. You, Iris Rait, Dewey Marietta, people I've invited today. I know I'm leaving one of you out. But you all are my Facebook friends, and I notice that we all seem to have an affinity for the Native Americans, the Native Americans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think what was done to them was terrible.
Right. We didn't know anything about that growing up at Kittatinny Camp, and that's where I think all of us were pretty formed. But the camp itself was named after a tribe of Native Americans, the Kittatinny.
That's true. Kittatinny and the Kittatinny Mountains, I guess.
Right, but which came from the tribe. They named them. I think they named the mountain after the tribe, or the tribe after.
Right, probably.
Yeah. We're joined by someone. Who is that?
Good morning. It's Iris. Or afternoon.
Iris, how you doing?
Good. How are you guys?
Iris Rait, ladies and gentlemen. We're on the air, returning to these airwaves, and we're talking about Kittatinny. How are you, Iris? You doing okay?
Good. Yes, good.
Good.
And you all? Who was on the phone?
Barbara.
It's Barbara.
And,
hello.
We're awaiting Dewey and
Meryl.
And Meryl, yes. It's early in the morning for me in California, so I'm just...
Yeah, that's true. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. Iris,
It's early for me, too.
We're talking about something...
Me too, but...
up at Kittatinny. Kittatinny Camp we're just talking, was it named after the mountain, Kittatinny Mountain, or the Native Americans? Which came first? Do you suppose the Native Americans being named Kittatinny or the mountain being named Kittatinny?
I have no idea. Is that weird?
Okay,
I thought it was named for Joe Muljava or something. I thought he had...
Right. We had the tradition.
Well, then we would have been Joe Mayava Camp, lodging camp.
You a figment before Jimmy Carter's rabbits, imaginary stuff. We had imaginary stuff back there. We weren't as dangerous. We were self-contained in the dining room, but it was.
That's true.
It got carried away when it went global.
Well,
in any event,
I have a little antidote.
About all of our respect. You're all my Facebook friends. We all seem to have a respect for the American Indian, and I think it was Native American is based on what we learned, traditions, Indian traditions and dances and what have you at camp. I thought that was a tremendous experience that really gave us all an affinity for what the Native American Indians went through.
Well, I'm sure you both remember the totem pole.
Of course.
That was very important to us. That kind of brings that into what you're talking about.
Right. We'd have meetings down there. We'd have color war, which in those days, color contests. In the later years, we didn't call it color war. But the green and white would all meet at the totem pole and tally up the scores. And we had Indian celebrations for awards in boys' camp. Those who made it, I never did.
Flaming Arrow?
Flaming Arrow. And
I never did either.
Coloca for the girls.
For a woman, that's why. What did they call it? What was the award?
Coloca. It was the paddles. So it was like the little mini oars kind of thing.
Right. I never made it. I don't have one. My sister has hers, but I don't have one.
I don't think anyone in my family made either.
My brother made Flaming Arrow, which I don't know what you had to do that. I know what you had to not do to make it.
You had to be a suck-up.
Yeah. Oh, to make it. Well, no, I think that was just a coincidence.
Yeah. I don't think my sister was ever a suck-up, so I guess there's not used to that.
All Flaming Arrow members are suck-ups necessarily.
I think you just had to listen to them occasionally.
Right. Listen. And not curse. I would always, I was almost going to make honor roll. I'd have my bed straightened 3-4 days in a row and things were going well. And you'd hear an F-bomb from one part of the barracks, and that was it. No honor roll. That's what did it. I don't know. That was me back in those days.
And two little funny anecdotes I'd like to share with you guys. I was in New York the beginning of December, and we were up in White Plains area. We were eating at a local place. I was with Michael. His son was getting married, and we were out for breakfast, and this guy stands up and says, Michael, and Michael's shaking his hand and then calls me over, and it was a guy that went to Kittatinny. So right there, standing in this restaurant, we started singing a Kittatinny song.
Who was it? Do you know?
Marty, something with a G. He lives in...
Marty Gorman?
I think that's it. He lives in Armonk, same town as my brother. They run into each other once every 10 years or something. It was very funny.
Wow.
And then,
I think it's Marty Gorman.
And then I got a call from Michael. Michael's really nuts. And then I got a call from Michael, which is, my younger brother. And just like 2 weeks ago maybe. And I was on the phone, so it didn't go through. And then my sister called me quickly and said, you need to call Michael back. And I thought something was wrong. And I called him back, and she said, you need to know the White Team song. And I called him back and started singing the White Team song. And I said, why are we singing this over the phone? And he goes, oh, Leslie Haber. I ran into Leslie Haber. So I'm like, what do you have a sign on your back here to
like
camp or something?
Drums are beating for the meeting of the rally.
For the rally of the great White Team. Fight, white.
Right.
So that's what he was singing over the phone.
There's 50 years you don't forget songs like that.
I know, but it was so funny. So he calls, he's with Leslie Haber. What do they do? They're thinking of Kittatinny song of the words. It's very funny.
All right.
But, yes, you do remember.
Nice to do. I'd like to send, and we'll start with you, send shout-outs to some of your favorite counselors at Kittatinny.
Well, I didn't have too many because I had Wendy Hankin for 3 years in a row.
Yep.
Okay. Wow.
And I had Cindy with her 1 year. Was it Barnes? Cindy Barnes?
Oh,
I don't know that.
Okay, I remember that.
She was one of the Lockhaven girls.
Yeah.
And my first year up there, co-counselor was Linda Samber, but she was only there that 1 year.
Okay.
Trying to remember.
So what do you remember that Wendy passed on to you? Just anything that you remember, camp experience?
What did Wendy pass on to me? I can't think of anything she passed on to me.
All right.
Oh, yes, I can remember.
Let's just call it neutral then.
I remember that year, 1960, Tyko came out.
Having nightmares about her, so it could have been all bad. Iris, anybody?
I remember Tyko came out that summer, and Wendy, I guess a bunch of the counselors went to see it together, and Wendy came back, and she was petrified of everything. And Linda said something to her like, boo. She screamed. And the whole bunk was awake. And we were laughing because Wendy was so petrified. And then after we were laughing, the counselor in the next bunk was Sue Hoffman. And she yelled something like, well, yeah, shut up and grow up or something like that. Oh, she said, grow up over there.
Wasn't she a color war chief or something like that? Or
Carol was. I don't remember that Sue was.
Oh, okay, Carol.
But she might have been before I got there, too. But so Gail Steinberg was in the bunk, and she hadn't said anything. Nobody knew she was awake. And she, when Sue Hoffman yelled out, grow up over there, and Gail yelled out, there's no Pioneer Road this year. And that sticks in my mind from 1960.
Oh, my God.
Wow, indeed. Iris, anybody have a big effect? Let's talk Marge Trout. She was terrific.
Well, Marge is active on Facebook.
I haven't seen her very much, especially lately.
Yeah, she just, every once in a while she'll come up with a thing or she'll like something that you post, but I know she's reading it at least, and it just amazes me, really. Her and Dick are doing their thing, and I remember a lot from her. She was always very stern. She was very stern, but she was fair.
And he was terrific. My brother and I agree on very few things and have all our lives agreed on very few things. We agree that Alan Sachs was one terrific counselor at Kittatinny.
He was just a nice person, too.
Yeah, he was a good guy.
Right?
Yeah.
He was a genuinely nice guy. That's all you can say. And he had a peacefulness about him. It was terrific. And I missed those days at camp for a myriad of reasons. Alzy is right up there, and Dick Trout too. Dick was wonderful. People like Jerry Peach, Art Baskin, the Harrison.
What was the year? What was the year that you were there?
I was
when were you there?
From 19.
I thought we weren't going to say that. No, but I already said I was there in 60, so go ahead.
I'm not saying ought, so I think that's a good thing. I'm going. Ought 5. I was there in ought 5. 1953.
1905, right?
To 62, and we missed a few years. We went to Rockaway.
You started in 62?
Family.
No.
When did you
That was
start?
your last year, wasn't it, 62?
My last year was 62, yes.
And what was your first year?
53, I think it was. I was on Pioneer Row. Jenny Blatt was...
Jenny Blatt. She was our camp mother.
Jenny and Milk.
I started on Pioneer Row, too, but I started on Pioneer Row in 55 or 56.
Well, I started in Bunk 9.
Okay.
And then my last year there was, I don't know, 68,
I was a camp waiter.
70? I don't know.
I didn't tend to be in a camp waiter very well either. That was another thing. Jenny's husband.
Get him out of here.
At Old Dark 100 to wake up the camp waiters first. It was dark out. He'd wake us up, and we'd have to get ready to serve breakfast.
Milk Blatt. Was that who woke you, Milk Blatt?
A very, very disciplined gentleman. I'll just say that. He was what he was, and he had two great kids, Jenny and...
Janet and Joel.
Janet and Joel, not Jenny. It was Janet. Okay. And Joel was a few years...
Janet was in the office. Wasn't Janet in the office?
I think one year she was a counselor.
Right?
But she was a little bit strict, but Joel was a nice guy. He was in the service.
We talk about Rick first, Barb, your late brother Rick, who worked in the stables.
He came in, he worked with Gary Gross. And that was the reason that I ended up at Kittatinny, because my parents were looking for a place for the three of us to go together, but he wanted to be involved with horses. And Jenny came to our house and showed my parents the propaganda. And we were there.
That's great. That's great.
Well, I don't know if, when you started, Jenny probably wasn't doing that, so, you wouldn't have known.
Well, my sister was there before me. Yeah, my sister was there before me, so I don't know how we got involved with Kittatinny. But then it just became, that was what we did. Every summer, that's what we did.
Right.
All of us.
Charles, Tyko, Toby,
and me. Yeah, I don't think our oldest brother, Harold, he didn't go. He went to some other camp, and then Kittatinny started, and then he was too old or something. I don't remember.
Or he didn't want to change camps, maybe.
No, he didn't go to that one another time. I think he was going to start college or something like that. So he didn't, because he was 15 years older than me.
Oh, wow.
So
did you all, the rest of you all start at the same time?
We all started when we were old enough to go, as long as there was an older sibling there. So that's why I started when I was 5 or 6 years old, but Toby was there. And then Michael came, Michael was 5 years younger than me, so he came when I was maybe 10 or 11 or something like that. He was 5 or 6 too, I think, when he started. I'm not sure. He has a better memory than I do. I just remember him being there and Charles being there at the same time and stuff. I remember the three of us spent a lot of years together there. I don't really remember my sister so much, but I know she was there. I mean, I remember my sister, but I mean, again.
You haven't forgotten her, right?
No, I talked to her daily. No.
Yeah. She's doing well?
Yes, she's good. She's in Jacksonville where her daughter is and her grandchildren, and it's amazing. Yes, she's doing
Beautiful.
great. Yeah.
Both in the state of Florida, which is nice. And Charles is still out in Santa Rosa.
Yes. He just became a grandpa for the second time.
Wow.
He's,
yes,
he's loving
child? Is that Max's?
No. His son, his daughter is Elizabeth, and his son is Benjamin.
Benjamin, not Max. Okay, now.
Yeah, and Ben, it's the oldest sister, Elizabeth. She has two boys now.
Oh wow, he's got to be very proud.
He is. He loves it. He goes. If I'm talking on the phone and the kids are brought over, he goes, "Look, I gotta go. My grandchildren are here." I go, "Okay, bye." Shows you how I went down in ranks. But,
right. Well, you're Irish, Rait. You do Rait.
Yeah. We're not together that often because they're in New York, California, Florida, so we talk on the phone. But when we're all together, we always do the Chant for a Child song, By the Lake song, the Alma Mater, whatever color war songs we could remember. I mean, it's amazing what you remember, thinking that you had no brain, and then you remember these things. And just recently, Charles sent me a picture of him and Margaret Jaskow standing together.
Wow.
It looked like it was
that must be an old picture.
Yes. Yes. Charles didn't have one gray hair. Now he doesn't have one hair. But, Maggie passed several years ago.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And
Paul
so
Jaskow
seeing that picture pop up.
Bunkmate of mine. Her brother was a bunkmate of mine.
Paul. It was Paul, right? Yeah.
Yes, and he went to Queens. They lived in Queens somewhere. I lived in Jackson Heights, and they lived, I think he went to Flushing High School. Or
he became some kind of physicist or something or other.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And she worked for, some magazine, did photography and stuff for, it'll come to me eventually, but some high-grade magazine, she was involved in for a long time before she got sick.
Very sad. Very sad.
And I think her husband wrote a beautiful tribute to her.
Yes, her husband wrote it. Well, the beginning was beautiful, not the middle or the end.
Oh, okay.
But it was, he did. He wrote a book about her, yeah.
Was she in your bunk?
Yes, for years and years. Mm-hmm. And Margie Canton lives in Venice, California. So
Margie Canton? Okay. Margie Cabot.
M-A-J now. She goes by Madge now. M-A-J.
No, but this is a different person, right? Marge Cabot?
Yes. Marge Cabot was a blonde.
Right.
I can't believe I remember that.
Cabot recently passed away.
Who?
Stephen Cabot recently passed away.
Oh, yeah, I saw that, I think. But didn't somebody say that Marge had also passed away?
Who?
Her brother. Marge Cabot.
Yeah, Marge Cabot passed away a few years ago, and Steve Cabot just a few months ago. So that's part of it, mortality, and all of us going through it with family and all that.
Well, we're all not 12 anymore.
No.
15, 12, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Between young and old.
Right.
Yeah,
somewhere in between.
Stuck in that era. Charles likes the apple tree stories, under the apple tree. Remember, you had to be like a grown-up
I remember
under the apple tree, all of 12 years old.
Right. First kiss.
And
Rathia Lenore, I think of you once a year when we do a Kittatinny show on Comfortably Zoned Radio. That was my first kiss in other than my grandma, of course.
Under the apple tree. Is that Louise?
Pardon me?
Was that Louise?
My grandmother?
No.
That was
Your first
Lenore.
kiss.
That was Lenore.
Under the apple tree.
Under the apple tree. Yeah.
Was that Louise?
No, that was Lenore.
Lenore, that's what okay, sorry. Got the name wrong.
I know, she won't even remember. Either way, it could have been Louise after all. But,
she was a nice girl. I liked her.
Girl.
I don't know who that
Lenore
is.
was a very, very, I often wonder, there is on the internet a Lenore Weiss who is a poet and was out in Oakland. I live in Alameda, which is a little island adjacent off of Oakland. And
also contact her.
I tried, this was years ago when I tried, and either didn't get response or didn't know how to work the computer. Surprise, surprise.
Oh, you do fine with it.
I'll ask you this, as people who have lived before technology.
Thank you.
Sometimes an advantage and
God, I just felt so old.
No, because, I guess rightfully so. But guess what? How do you think it is to be 5 years older than you if you're feeling old? Iris?
I know, I just took a big sigh trying to comprehend all of that. I think we're still back under the apple tree, so don't bust that bubble for me.
How do you guys adjust to technology? Is it oft times more frustrating than it is worth it to get? I guess overall you have to say it's all worth it. How would we all be keeping up like this? So many different things.
I mean, we all have learned something of the new technology. I mean, some people stay away from it as much as they can, but everybody has learned something. You've learned how to use an ATM. You've learned how, I mean, none of this stuff existed. Credit cards didn't even exist when we were kids, except for store credit cards. I mean, not for general use. They existed, for like older people.
Yeah, like our parents.
Right, but then they only had American Express or Diners Club or what was the name of it? Carte Blanche. And that was it. They didn't have, now my father is gone now since 2002. He was using a computer.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, really. Only because his girlfriend said she wanted to be a .com.
That's great.
Wanted to be a .com.
They got a computer. I can't remember what we got them, but it was a regular computer. It wasn't a top of the line whatever, And he used to sit there and look at the stock market. Same thing he did on television,
Yeah, or with a newspaper, like in the old days, they'd wait for the newspaper to come out.
Well, no, he used to go and sit in the
sit and watch the
office,
ticker, right?
Watch the ticker.
Yeah.
Yes, I can remember when there were those.
The brokerage houses when you get
right.
his
office was above a brokerage house. He used to close his office at 2:00, and then he'd go downstairs and he'd sit in the brokerage house and watch the ticker.
Cute.
Cool.
So, we've come a long way, but my grandmother lived from when they used to light, the oil lamps to watch man land on the moon.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Right.
So, I mean, we've come a long way, but every generation comes a long
way.
With whatever comes up when they're in,
She lived to see a man on the moon, and we lived to see a president who's a goon.
Yes. And you're a poet, and you don't know it.
I didn't work for I worked for.
None of us did, and if you did, we wouldn't admit it anyway.
Exactly.
Well,
I worked for Bell South down here for a long time, and if it wasn't for them, that's how I learned the computer. because it was, of course, Bell South is pretty technological. And
well, I worked at a job in Atlanta. Actually in Florida, I learned how to work a word processor, a dedicated word processor. And the day that the guy that I worked for bought it, the company went out of business. But I used to know one or two programs. I used to know, and my lessons were: here's how you turn it off, here's how you turn it on, here's how you save a file, and that was it. So you had to learn on your own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
all the copy and paste stuff and how to navigate around.
You just learn how to do that. Now I work for the school board, and there are all these bright people in my department.
And you hollered, help me.
I put up the red flag. Someone comes to my help. I
call a woman in the accounting office and say, I need help with Excel.
Exactly. So, and then you learn.
Yeah.
Excel sheet to save my life.
No matter how far I get, and I really have come, I have to say, far enough to be able to keep the station going, keep the show going, all that, I still feel like a dinosaur because I know I came into it.
Well, I have a girlfriend who's a couple years older than I am, and I can't say I feel like a dinosaur next to her because she's older, but she understands the technology of the computer. I understand the programs.
Right.
I don't understand either. I just use it. I don't understand the terminology.
I don't understand how the programs work in terms of, bytes and bits and whatever. I understand how to use my programs, the programs that I use.
How to get the most out of them. And,
did you check it? Did you clean it out? Did you do your backup? Do you have memory? Do you have what are you talking about?
Well, now I can. You're lucky you got Bob right there. Bob is.
Oh yeah, that's a help when it comes to computers.
Well, no, when I visited, he taught me how to clean out my little computer and how to get into it.
Okay. So he taught you how to clean. I probably taught that too.
How to get rid of the cache, right? How to get rid of the cache,
right? Cache.
Yeah, but I wouldn't know how to do the radio stuff that you do.
I wouldn't know how to set the record button. You'd have to show me.
But I did have a radio show in college, but it was easy. Someone came in, set up the board, and we just talked. It was a two-person show, and then we would put on music. And we didn't have to figure out anything, really.
Iris, you're so articulate. If you ever decided that you wanted to do a weekly podcast, I could show you how to produce it. It would be nothing to it. I'd put it on my station, and you'd get to whatever your passion is, whatever you always thought, well, if I had 30 minutes a week, what would I talk about? What would it be based on? Think about that. You're so bright, and you'd be
like a dim bulb.
When my last year at
Kittatinny to rant about now. We have plenty to rant about and discuss now.
My last year at Kittatinny, I worked in the office.
Can I give you some good news, both? Because I know...
Ways can use good news.
I'd love some good news.
As humanists, we're all concerned about Planned Parenthood.
Yes.
And the idea that, the government isn't going to fund abortions. Well, you know what? They
never did.
They never did.
They never did. They can't get this through their heads
for a very short time, and then they stopped the federal funding for that.
Yeah, and they never.
Well,
they couldn't
haven't had federal funding in effect when Trump took over. So that all is a big lie. And I heard Pence say, "No, we're not going to fund abortion." But aside that's a tremendous misconception. Or now they don't ever call it a lie anymore. It's a fact.
It's an alternative fact.
Yes, it's an alternative fact. That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
My grandmother would laugh at that. That's one.
I laugh at it.
My mother would be hysterical.
Right. Exactly. You have to go. What? She go. What?
Exactly.
That's life best.
So that would have been my grandparents.
Right. Now it's my grandparents.
What?
So what do you think? But I want to tell you something that I read, that the private sector of contributors has come up incredibly strong.
Yeah, I heard that they're doing great.
Right. These people in Planned Parenthood is now going to get, eventually, they'll have as much funding as they ever had. And
as they need.
Risk. But what we
Yes,
really
but the point is, of that ruling, they cannot make it a criminal act. Like Pence said, if a woman, he was talking, someone asked him, if a woman is raped, would you approve an abortion? And he goes, if we do that, more women will go out to try to get raped. Now what is that?
I can't wait to get raped.
More women will go out and try to get raped.
If the government will pay for an abortion for someone that's raped.
That's why I said he's the insurance policy for Trump. Trump will never be bumped off because people will start to listen to Pence after a while and say, which is worse? At least Trump likes Israel. You got to give him that. And for better or worse.
Let's see how long that lasts.
Yeah, well, he loves Israel because, number one, he knows it's an important point with a small portion but a wealthy portion of the population. And his daughter is now Jewish. So
he's got 3 or 4 Jews that are involved.
Oh, I have the canine chorus going on.
Well, his son-in-law is like, his son-in-law is Orthodox.
Yes, and so is his daughter, New Orthodox, modern Orthodox. Have you ever seen a modern Orthodox person wearing short sleeves?
No. I haven't, please. There is no such thing as a modern Orthodox.
Well, I looked it up.
Can't be
there actually is.
Orthodox.
But now they've gotten a special dispensation from a rabbi to ride in a car on Saturday. Now, did you ever hear of that before?
No, that's ridiculous. So that's what I mean. That doesn't even make sense in my life.
It's what's good for you, you know?
It's right. But that's not, sometimes that's not how things are.
No, at all.
That's not how you pay respect. What's good for them, that kind of thing. Because, I don't agree with stuff like that. And there are these, like the groups that are pro-life groups. Well, I agree with the pro-life group.
Pro-life? I'm not pro-abortion. I just don't think it's up to me to decide whether you should have one or not.
It's none of anybody's business.
It's to a man to decide what a woman.
That's true too.
I mean, what man or woman? I mean, I have a friend I worked with a long time, and we are friends. And she really came at me when I talked about, the right to life and also having abortions, and it should be you should just have the right to human rights, and it shouldn't be taken off the books. And she told me, but you're killing babies. I said, I'm not killing babies. I'm giving people the right to decide for themselves what's good for them.
That's right. It's not up to us.
And they don't get it. So they're denying people. So, they say, well, they're
for the unborn
and this and that, but they're taking away freedoms from other people. So that's why don't they look at both sides of the coin? I can't understand that.
Were it not legal,
because their church tells them, and I don't mean this in a the church says, because the church says that's got to be the right way, but it's not.
But they're denying a whole, they're denying like a 12-year-old. God forbid a 12-year-old gets raped. We should force that child to have a baby?
Right.
It's not our choice.
It's not our place. It's not our place.
It's not our place. The law should be, you choose yourself. You choose yourself. And if you're a minor, your family chooses with you. But you choose yourself. And I just don't get it. I just don't get it how people don't see that. If you take away some rights for some, to make it so they can't do something, slowly but surely your rights as a whole are going to erode. And I don't want any rights. I don't want to go backwards. I want to go forwards in this life.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So
I agree.
That's really one of my hot buttons. And the stupid wall's another hot button. It's just a lot of crazy stuff going on.
All the time. His politicizing when he was trying to become elected, his campaign stuff said that Mexico was going to end up paying for the wall.
Right.
No, you and I are going to end up paying for it.
Yes,
right.
We're going to pay for the wall because first we're going to lay out the money to build the wall, and then they're going to put taxes on products coming into this country from Mexico, so they'll raise their prices, so we'll pay it anyway.
Exactly. So we're paying any way you turn around. So that's why every other day I call my congressperson, and I say, if you'd like to stay in office, you will not vote for the wall.
Who's your
I have a little group now that does this.
Who?
Some do it on even days, some call on odd days, and we have a little group.
But who's your congressperson?
Ileana Ross-Layton, a Republican.
Oh, yes, but she would. Mine is Alfie Hastings. I don't have to call him because I know.
Who did not go to the little summit in Philadelphia because she is not a Trump fan because she's an immigrant. And her family's a family of immigrants. So she's against him.
But I bet you she still voted for him.
Well, I bet you she did vote for him as well, but, that's her thing, that she wants to stay in office.
And she's entitled to vote for who she wants to, but she's an idiot.
Well, she says some good things, and she's a pretty loose Republican, and but she got into office. She's been in office a while, and so we have a circle that calls her. So her office gets at least, I know from our little bunch, one call a day, and I know there are several bunches out that call her, and I'm always posting her name on her number on Facebook. I don't use her name, and I always say, call, send emails. Call, send emails. They work for you, and if you don't vote, then it's your fault.
I called Ryan's office about the ACA. And the box was full. I couldn't leave a message.
Yep.
I mean, I did call and leave my, that I was against it, but then I couldn't leave anything further.
I called the ethics committee about Ryan. Betsy DeVos is a big a contributor to his campaign, even though she's from Michigan. And
who's a big contributor to his campaign?
What?
Who'd you say was a big contributor?
Betsy DeVos,
another one.
The education department, who has never seen a public school, who wants to do this voucher thing, and
you know what a Huckin is?
She gave $9 million. Did she not give $9 million to his campaign?
It's crazy.
She gave a lot. I don't know if she gave.
Maybe you should investigate if she's trying to buy a seat.
Oh,
and ask Mr. Ryan about that.
See, the thing is that the Democrats can't fight every one of his appointments, so they've got to take a stand on the most important ones. And I think the two most important ones.
Education is certainly an important one.
Education, absolutely, right up there. And whoever.
And Rick Perry with the nuke.
State, but to fight each one is mad.
Well, there are different committees that vote initially on each one.
Has its own
not
fight.
The same people. Yeah,
it's almost a mindset in Congress. What are we going to do? Turn everybody down? No, we got to. They work together, and
exactly.
they work together to mess us all up as human beings. I think there's a minute difference in the parties, and I think Barbara will disagree because I was a Bernieite for a long time.
I don't disagree with you. I think, though, that once he was no longer a candidate, that your vote should have gone to make sure that Trump wasn't.
Well, I got to buy on that because I was in California and Hillary was going to win California no matter how I voted. So I voted for Jill Stein. But
that was throwing your vote out the window.
Well, it didn't matter.
You can't say that this was one of the 5 million votes.
I wasn't in an electoral state. It didn't matter, so I didn't have
Yes,
to
I understand that. I understand what you're saying.
You understand that, but you also have to understand how disenfranchised I felt when it came out that Debbie Wasserman Schultz rigged in conjunction with Hillary.
That was the dumbest thing she could have ever done.
And Lizzie, who just came out for Carson the other day.
Well, like you just said, you have to give him something. So she gave him something. The least.
Okay, good point. She gave him something, but it wasn't for her to have given something. Somebody else should have stood up and made that speech. That's all.
Well, Wasserman's just starting to show her face again. You know, she's been pretty quiet. She's just starting to show her face again. She made a horrible error.
I'm still getting emails from her.
In not backing Bernie right away. And the Democratic Party made an error by when it came out that it was bogus. They should have said, let's have a mulligan. Let's do it all over again. Or this won't work. Or we agree. I honestly think that the basic difference between Trump and Hillary was minute. It's turning out now their foundation is closing. They're just a slimy bunch of folk. I mean, the husband going over to the Attorney General, knocking on the plane's window to talk about her grandkids. This is, it didn't go over.
All right. He wasn't.
And a lot of people were afraid of Bernie because now I'm not saying he is. I'm not saying
he's a Jewish socialist.
He's a Jew and he's a socialist. That's what, I mean, I had Jews saying to me, he's a socialist.
I know, but
not.
He's
a Democratic
Barbara, he was a progressive, and the Democratic Party was built on socialism. It's supposed to be. The word socialism gets a reputation in this
as
country.
Being bad.
Yeah, I get that. But what I'm saying is that people weren't going to vote for him because of that. I would have voted for him.
They were scared of that. They didn't know what it meant.
Trump's ass. He would have beaten Trump's ass. No question about that. Trump's maniacal. And he will eventually fall. What scares me is that Pence is worse on a lot of levels. He's certainly more of a Christer. Religion rarely comes up with Trump. And the truth be known, our trade agreements have been horrible. We got to do something to get some jobs back into this country.
Well, do you think the jobs that left this country are going to come back the same? No, because they're all going to be robots now.
Absolutely. Even on the pipeline that they just approved, they say 35 new jobs because that's all it is.
About this pipeline.
Yeah, that's another thing. The ecology, money being more important than a place for our grandkids to.
They already had a leak. They just had a leak. I mean, it's not the thing to do.
They're just so interested in money that nothing else matters.
Right. It's scary, but like I say, the positive note is that the private sector will save Planned Parenthood. And of all the things that just the education that it provides so that it never comes to abortion with the vast majority of kids who are hanky-panky playing around. That's the way it is, hormones. You got to educate kids on how to prevent diseases, how to even put on a rubber, for Christ's sake, or not.
And that's what Planned Parenthood does. And they do that in schools as well.
Exactly. And you know what? Again, everything progressive, the church tries to take out public education of sexuality in schools and what have you. If they taxed all churches, mosques, and synagogues, everything would take care of itself. Let them compete with astrologers. Let people who are genuinely spiritual find a way to be spiritual. It doesn't take funds. It doesn't take, for instance, in Oakland, the Catholic Church on whatever street it's on, I can't think of it right now, within blocks of this beautiful, ornate church, brand new building where you walk in with the gold and it's glittering and you feel Jesus in your heart as soon as you walk in because of the money.
Think of what that money could have been spent on.
Of course, 2 blocks, there are families living in cardboard boxes, for Christ's sake. So, you tax religion, it will eliminate itself. You eliminate religion, take away their 501c3s, and they will be gone. Their businesses can't compete. You can't. If they didn't have the tax deduction, and what you could do, you could feed the hungry and educate the curious. That's all we basically need in this country. If everybody is fed, and if the kids are fed in the morning and they can go to school, and if they're sheltered, for crying out loud.
Well, Betsy DeVos wants to take away all food, all free breakfast, free lunch. If it's not on the voucher, the kids don't get it.
That's right.
She's got to be kept out of office.
She is.
She just has to be kept out.
I think between her and Rick Perry, I think that's about the worst.
Rick,
it's scary.
His finger's like on the nuke practically, and he didn't even know it.
Right. And the good news, I've been reading a lot about the checks and balances in the system. Trump's not going to wake up one morning and not feel well and go, I'm groggy today, and pull the nuclear trigger, push the button.
Oh, no, he can't do that.
He can't do that.
No.
He can't do that. I'm sure they think of him as just, we got to get by this guy.
His finger's on the nuke.
There's a girl in my office that said, so did you read that they gave him the code? I said, yes. It's very upsetting that he actually has the code. And she said, who knows what code they gave him?
For the bathroom, for the executive bathroom.
I said, yes, that was hysterical. I said, only you could think of that.
Well, I'm going to tell you something. Didn't he have a trial for a rape case with a 13-year-old?
I don't know that they ever had the trial.
No.
How did that
not that I know
all
of.
of a sudden that's gone? They never had the trial? I didn't read it was dismissed. I didn't read.
Well, you'll have to do some digging and find out.
Okay, I'll be doing that this afternoon. I'll get my shovel out. Thank you.
You know what I have over here? I live in southern White House country, and every day I read in the paper they're having this affair at Mar-a-Lago and that affair at Mar-a-Lago. Mar-a-Lago doesn't give itself up for free.
Absolutely not.
How is it the southern White House and people are can we pay to have an affair at the White House in Washington? No.
He's breaking every rule there is to be broken.
And they're giving it to him.
Right, with some bullshit something.
And
like someone said, why is it important to see his
still
stocks?
Hasn't shown his tax return.
Right, and people go, why is it important to see it now? He's president. Well, I still want to see it.
That's right.
I'd like to see what business he had with Russia. But you know what? I wouldn't mind being allied with Russia. So when our ally is Saudi
Arabia. Yeah, but it's still Putin, and Putin is a loose cannon.
That's true. Well, but I'm sure Trump is good. People in Russia are going, that's still Trump. Trump's a loose cannon.
Yeah, he is. But you want a loose cannon coordinating with a loose cannon? I mean,
They're brother. That's why they're brethren.
That's right.
I don't think there'll be any problems because they both have an equal amount of nuclear stuff that we could blow each other up. Nobody wants to do that. They love each other.
Well, you don't know.
Too much
you don't know.
do that.
But their egos are so big that they're self-consuming.
So at least, yes, they have egos, but they have a basic common sense that comes from being a non-Arab.
Well, also the major difference is we do have checks and balances here, and in Russia they really don't have the checks and balances. People, if someone doesn't like what Putin's saying in their upper echelon or whatever, all of a sudden one day they disappear.
Right.
That never
Here
happens
it's a little bit different still.
Well, it does happen here, but not with the frequency.
It's not that much different,
Right.
though.
Not with the frequency.
Yes. It's a little bit harder to just make someone go away.
Yeah, but you notice our little towns and our hamlets all over the country have built this military capability. They have tanks and stuff. I don't know, Alameda out here, these towns are equipped with keeping the people down, and Trump has...
No, we don't have any tanks here.
Well, you know what they did? No, what they did was the government, the federal government, had surplus army, supplies, so they sold them to the local governments, and that's why they have what they have.
I know, but it makes it too easy to round the people up. That's all. It just, and I know the police are an extension of the government, and the National Police Force came out very heavy the unions came out very heavy for Trump. And these are some bad people. You see what's happening.
The unions came out heavy for Trump?
Police unions all over the country.
Oh, police unions, yeah, which I couldn't figure that one out either.
Yeah, because they're right-wing, crazy nutcases.
Yeah.
And
Second Amendment, gun,
Right.
Yeah, all that stuff. It's some scary shit. But we solved a lot of the problems today. I think if people will play over this tape, it should take about a week before it takes effect, and Trump will listen and go, that's how I'm perceived by these wonderful women. I'm going to make some changes. Suppose that'll happen.
Your mouth to God's ears.
All right, thank you. Thank you for being here. I really enjoyed it. This is like a reunion of a year ago, 2 years ago.
More. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, we should make this at least an annual event.
Absolutely. And
so I just want to say this before you hang up on us. When I'd like your thoughts to drift to me on Wednesday if possible. It's February 1st, and I'm having back trouble, so I'm having it taken care of on February 1st. So if your thoughts could just drift to me for a minute on Wednesday, it would be nice.
I certainly will. Wednesday's my husband's birthday, so I'll be thinking of you and him and
thank you.
A couple other things also. So you will be there.
Okay. Thank you, dear.
A moment when I'm not thinking about myself is always pleasant.
There's always room for someone else when he's not thinking about himself.
I know, but
squeeze me in there.
Me, you have to schedule these things.
We'll have to send him a reminder.
I told you now. I'm giving you plenty of time to schedule it in. Get it on your calendar.
You have to give him. He gave me a reminder call this morning. I was lying down and the phone rang. I said, "Oh, that's Ralph."
No, I called in right on time, and then I looked down at the page where I put the number, and I didn't put the code, so I had to go and open the computer and get the code.
And as for Dewey and Merrill, maybe we'll make another show with both of them.
That'd be great.
I don't remember Dewey. Was she?
I don't remember that name either.
Dewey worked in the office, and she's been my Facebook friend. She worked a year or so after I left. But for some reason, because of the Kittatinny Connect, we became Facebook friends. She's an old hippie like myself, and she's got a good hippie mind, and she's interesting on Facebook, and I really enjoy her.
I'll have to reach out to her.
And Merrill, you guys remember her?
I remember.
Meryl was my little sister in camp.
Yeah, I remember. I knew the name, but I can't really say.
She was my little sister. We visited each other outside of camp.
Really?
Yes.
Yes,
we were very, very close.
How littler?
Yeah, she a couple of years younger than me. It was like 50 years then back then. Had a little sister at camp.
We weren't going to talk fifth.
We weren't talking years.
All right, I'm sorry.
Sorry. Like I remember the name, but I can picture the face. But 50 years,
You should friend her on Facebook. She writes beautiful posts. She's the founder of a law firm, a very good law firm.
Really?
She's very exceptionally bright, and I love reading her stuff. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I thought you knew her, Barb. Okay, we will do it again very soon.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. Yep.
All right.
Keep on seeing you on Facebook, guys.
For those of you
And we
out
have to
here,
do the
this
South
has been a
Beach again one day.
reunion, and just talking with some wonderful liberal people, and we're all trying to bind our wounds, so to speak, and we hope it's not as bad as we imagine it could be. Let's just put it that way. A comfortably zoned radio production. I thank my guest, Barbara Burton Stewart from Kittatinny Camp, and Iris Rait from Kittatinny Camp. It was fun and enjoyable. We'll catch you on the flip-flop, everybody. Take care.
Bye, y'all.
Bye. Good luck on Wednesday.